Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, where you get information that you can use. Today's guest, Bob King, literally wrote the book on closing. It's called The Joy of Closing, the definitive guide to building trust, getting the deal, and creating happy customers. All righty now. Bob is an author, closing coach, filmmaker, and sales superstar who consults with sales teams and sales professionals of all types, from retail to in-home sales to business, bringing one-call magic to pitches, curing slumps, boosting team performance, and turning total strangers into happy customers, often at the very first meeting. Wow. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Ida. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Talk about how you bring all this joy in closing, because one of the biggest things in sales is the close. And salespeople, some people struggle with it.
Well, it's kind of a dirty word. And I think part of the reason there's two reasons why it is. One is because it's really hard. It's really what separates very, very valuable salespeople from someone who can just present well and, take an order. And really the difference is commitment. If you're going to close someone, you really need to be committed to the task at hand. And a big part of it is committed to truly being of service to your customer. So I wanted to write a book that really highlighted all the ways that closing your customer is in fact a way to be of service to them and not a way to impose your will on a sales situation, which seems to be what most of the literature about closing kind of, even if they don't outright say it, one of their approaches seems directed at accomplish it in that way. And that's just not my experience. It was at first, but that's not how it turned out to be.
Yes. So how did you decide that it was not the way they taught you? How did that all happen?
I decided to learn how to close. So I was, I was a filmmaker. I had some success. I had a movie at Sundance and got to make another feature. Not as much as some of the people I went to film school with, but more than some. But I got hit by this thing called the global economic collapse. And in 2009, I had to find a way to make money. And so I went on a bunch of job interviews. The one that paid you was to train was the one for selling solar power. With a guy that could sell you a blender at the state fair on a day you never thought about blenders. I love con artist movies. I knew this guy was up to no good, but I always wanted to know the secret. And so I took the training. Also, it paid my rent. And, at the middle of the second week, I found out what the secret was. And then, I was kind of the star of the class. So I figured I owed it to him to go out and try and get a couple of sales. I quickly became their number one salesperson, or I was kind of rival with one other guy. And then I realized that I was working for scoundrels and closing customers on a decision that they might later regret. And so I left there, worked for a slightly better company, and then a solar startup with great intentions, and then a really first-rate company that's one of the premier home improvement companies in the country. And what I realized as I moved throughout that process is that what I was trained in is really not the best way to be of service to customers. And that rather than connect with the customer's greed, I needed to connect with my own belief in what I was doing. And that's obviously a lot easier to do when you're working with a company with good intentions than with one that's kind of ripping people off. But the peanut butter got in the chocolate, and so that's why I wrote a book about it.
Wow. So give us a little snippet from the book, what people can expect and learn from your writing.
The first part of the book is a personal work history, just so people understand how I came into the knowledge that I am about to impart with them. The middle part is a how-to guide to closing a customer on the first day, or at least making the very best impression when you got the element of surprise, right? Because even if you're not closing that customer on the first day, let's say it's a B2B thing where, really all you can do is present, you still have to make them want it. And so I kind of, after I had some success, I started coaching companies and consulting and individuals. And I realized that, the principles that designed to create a one-call close actually work in a lot of different sales situations. And I found that really fascinating. So I distilled it all into something called 7 steps in a forecast. And so the middle part of the book is the 7 steps in a the bulk of the book is a how-to guide on earning a customer's business on the first day. And then the last part is, what do you do when you have that kind of success? How do you maintain yourself as an asset to your customer as well as to your company by creating a great customer experience? Because happy customers don't just happen. We create them. And as a closer, we're really in a better position to create that customer's happy perspective than anybody else in the company. So I wrote about 40 pages on that.
Wow. So how do people get the book?
It's on Amazon. There's an audiobook that I recorded, and then a Kindle as well as a paperback that they can order.
Oh, okay. So if people want to work with you, as I heard you say you do coaching, if companies want to work with you.
Yeah. I'm running a special right now. So if your company buys 20 copies of my book, you get an hour of me for free. And all that can be arranged at joyofclosing.com, or you can email me at bob@joyofclosing.com.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. Because sales is a tough one, and for a lot of people. And, to be able to sell means you'll never go hungry.
Yeah, well, it's funny because a lot of times I'll work with companies where, the owners have a great deal of success and are essentially their own closer. And then they go out and expand, and they think just because they have a great product and a great reputation and really good intentions and, some happy customers, that the people that they hire, who are probably sales professionals but not closing professionals, are going to have the same success that they have. And it really doesn't work out like that. And so, oftentimes my job is to figure out what the owner was doing that the sales team isn't, or maybe there's 1 or 2 people on the team that have success, but it's not really translating to the others, and how to really connect, to unify their company story, unify their product pitch, and a few other bells and whistles. But really, if you want your sales team to have the same success that you had, bring me in, because I will help you do that.
And you talked about sales and sales closers. Define the difference.
Well, there's a kind of funny story that people use as an example. You're going to a wedding, and you need a shirt. And so you go into a store, you start looking through the racks. Maybe you start at the sale rack. The salesperson looks up from their horoscope and says, "Can I help you?" And what do you say?
No, or yes, I need help with so and so and so.
Well, usually you'll say, "I'm just looking," right? The closer watches you, sees where you pause, where you have interest, at the key moment, walks over and says, "Oh my God, you have amazing taste. That's my favorite shirt in the store. I was going to buy it with my employee discount, but it looks so good on you. You need to wear it to that wedding." And you pay a little more than you expected. You go to that wedding with a confidence that you wouldn't have had otherwise, meet the person of your dreams, fall in love, and have a happy forever life, all because a closer paid attention to you and worked with your resistance to get you something you wanted. That's the difference between a salesperson and a closer.
Oh, okay. And most companies, and I see the difference, but most companies don't have those jobs separate. It's usually
really the closer is also that 20% of your sales team that does 80% of your business. That, that's never going to tell you the things that my book discloses, because they need someone to run the shitty leads. They want that cream of the crop. They have the best chance for success because they've had the best success. Sales is a meritocracy, and the people who have the best track record are always going to get the best opportunities, the best territories, the best leads, the best shifts, whatever, your company or your products, your industry's version of it, it's never a level playing field, and it never will be. So you got to figure out how to get to the top of that. You have to get your manager or your owner or whoever's assigning who goes where and who gets what. They have to think of you as the person most likely to get the deal. And those are the closers. There's someone doing that right now in your company. And if it's not you, again, read my book or give me a call. We'll figure out how to make that happen.
Yes, yes, indeed. So again, how do people connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Bob King. I also have just my website, bob@joyofclosing.com is probably the best way to reach me.
Oh, okay. Wow. So this is really, really good, Bob, because sales is a tough one for a lot of people, and people that have their own business, they are wearing all the hats. They create the product, they have to promote the product.
But they have belief. What the owners have that the people they hire often don't is the owner knows their intentions are good, and they also understand their product's value. They've seen cases where, whatever they do made their client's life much better. So as an agent of change, sales is always, if you're selling anything, you are an agent of change. And closers especially, are very committed to that change and the value it's going to bring to you as a client or as a customer, in a way that regular salespeople aren't. They just aren't as committed. And it's hard because I don't care what sales job you have, you're gonna, a great closer is probably between 25 and 35%, right? Which means you're gonna have 3 or 4 no's for every yes, if they say yes on the first time you ask. And if they say no on the third time you ask, you're going to have 9 or 10 no's for every yes. So, you just have to mentally prepare yourself for that. And what I say, you need to channel your inner 6-year-old. Tell a 6-year-old no, and then watch what happens. They don't, a 2-year-old will throw a tantrum, but a 6-year-old is clever. They are not deterred by your no, and they will find a way around it. So that's one of the things I tell people to do, is study a 6-year-old.
Yes, yes, indeed. Because the 6-year-old, you're right, they don't take no.
No, they're very clever. If they want that ice cream, they're probably going to get that ice cream. I always say a salesperson is 80% 6-year-old. A successful closer is 80% 6-year-old and 20% lawyer, because no one wants to sign contracts with a lawyer. But if you're too efficient and too focused on, is this going to happen, you're not channeling your inner 6-year-old. And you just need to focus on the mission and getting that ice cream in an enthusiastic and careful and, being of service all the time.
Yeah, so watch your 6-year-olds, everybody.
If you have a 6-year-old, you have a great teacher.
Yes, yes, indeed. So again, how do people get the book, and how do people connect with you?
They can connect with me on bob@joyofclosing.com. That's my email, or they can just go to joyofclosing.com and hit connect. My book is on Amazon. So all platforms, internationally, all the Amazons, basically. It's called Joy of Closing by Bob King, the definitive guide to building trust, getting the deal, and creating happy customers.
Absolutely. So have the companies that you work with, one last question. When you went in and did your coaching kind of thing, what are some of the issues that you were able to correct in the company?
Well, I'm going to answer a question you didn't ask, which is really kind of fascinating. So when I started down this road, I like every, you have a great product, you believe in it, you just kind of go forward like everyone's going to see your advice for the wonderful blessing that it is to them. And the truth is, as someone who's coaching people on closing, what I most need to do is take my own advice and close them on the changes that I'm trying to make in their approach. So it's really funny. It's really a house of mirrors. Like, I had to become good at closing my clients in order to help them be good at closing their clients. Because otherwise they're just going to go back to the status quo, all their old bad, all their bad habits. I mean, certain things you can kind of beat out of them just because you bring attention to what it means when you say honestly to a customer, which is that everything I told you before now is a lie, or actually to a customer. There's certain words that are just, once you understand the impact on a customer, you can pretty much course correct that very quickly. But in terms of like the overall approach and how to think about that customer and how to think about your role, all that stuff, if I'm not modeling exactly how I want them to be, it's kind of hard for them to actually take my advice. So the job one is to really commit to the fact that I have something valuable for them and that their life is going to be vastly improved if they embrace what I have for them to use. And then, it depends on, what type of sale it is and where they need to put emphasis and things like that. And really what the other thing is I work with the owner of the company a lot to figure out what they're looking to accomplish. Because oftentimes it's not just more sales. Sometimes it's like things that the salespeople are saying on the front end that make creating happy customers much more difficult, because maybe they're giving them this idea that they're going to somehow, this thing's going to pay for itself in, 2 months when it's really more like 2 years, and as long as you don't tell them 2 months, the customer is happy with 2 years. But if they're going in expecting 2 months, about 6 months down the road, they're going to be really unhappy. And so there are all kinds. We are so influenced. If you earn a customer's business, if you earn their trust and get them to make a change, everything you said to them to create that situation just becomes so, exaggerated in their mind as they move through whatever process comes next, that we just have to be really mindful about what kind of expectations we set up and usually stay in touch with them a little more than most salespeople do. If you want to have repeat business, if you want to build a referral-based business, if you want your company to have the 5-star reviews that make that next customer so much easier to get, there's things you need to do. And that's why there's a whole third part of the book called Creating Happy Customers.
Yeah. Yeah. So you heard it. Get the book. We want happy customers. For sure. Because I know I'm happy. When I'm a happy customer, I'm a happy customer. And I go back.
Yeah, it's funny. And if you are a closer, and I'm sure some of your listeners are already closers, if there's one thing in the book that helps you that you can bring into your next appointment, like a new toy, and sell it, that book paid for itself many, many times over, depending on your sales job. The more zeros in what you're selling, the better your sales job is generally. So, that's the other kind of thing. There's lots of homespun wisdom in there. It just comes from having done this for the last 15 or 16 years, that you'll also get.
Yeah, absolutely. So you heard it. Go get the book. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Sure thing.
I'm looking forward to reading the book myself, because I think anybody that's in business can't get enough of how-tos in closing sales.
Yeah, there's a lot of great books on closing. I mean, on selling. I think how you present to a customer really has evolved, and there's lots of things that get customers the hair in the back of their necks to stand up that didn't, even 5 years ago, let alone 10 or 20 years ago, when a lot of the books on sales kind of were established. So there's a lot of great books on, how to present to a customer, how to approach a customer, and things like that. There's almost nothing about how to actually create intimacy, how to keep asking for the deal and earn their business that isn't much more reflective of what I was trained in instead of what I figured out how to do. And that's why I wrote the book, because I wanted people to be able to embrace what I figured out how to do and what I had successfully trained other people to do, which is a different approach, mostly focused on being of service and committing to the idea that moving forward today is the very best thing for your customer, for your company, and for you, in that order. And that the changes you need to make in your approach that create that trust actually make your whole life better. And that's really where the joy is for me, is, I did not set out to become a trustworthy person when I knocked on someone's door to sell them solar power 15 years ago. But that is what happened. That is my journey. And it's a beautiful journey. And so, you know, wherever you are on that journey, it just gives you an opportunity to embrace the positive changes that come from earning someone's trust. And really, it's a fun job. Like watching how someone makes a decision that's the room where it happens, right? In Hamilton. I want to be in there. If you want to be in the room where it happens, learn how to close people, because that's the room where it happens.
Yes, yes, indeed. Wow, Bob. Thank you so much for all the gems you just dropped on us. And thank you, audience, for tuning in. We truly appreciate you.